Let's talk about two words that get to the very heart of education: Educare and Educere. Now, Educare means to train or to mold, but Educere, that means to draw out, to lead forth. We're about to dive into why our entire school system was built on that first idea, molding students, and why it's now in crisis. And more importantly, we'll explore what it would look like to build a system that actually draws out the potential that's already inside every child.
A slow motion global collapse. I mean, that sounds dramatic, right? But it perfectly captures this feeling that something is fundamentally broken. We're not just talking about a few small problems here and there. This is about an old, outdated model that is failing right before our eyes all around the world. And this is where it gets really serious. Because this collapse isn't just an abstract idea, it's having a devastating impact on our kids, creating a very real mental health crisis. So the central question we have to answer is, why? How did the very institutions designed to help our children flourish become a source of so much anxiety and stress? Let's unpack that. To really get to the bottom of the why, we first have to understand the sheer scale of this crisis. And honestly, some of the recent data is truly shocking. 52%. Just let that sink in for a second. In a 2024 UK survey, more than half of all students said that school was actively harming their mental health. We're not talking about a small, struggling minority here. This is the majority. The very system meant to build them up, they feel, is breaking them down.
And look, it's easy to point fingers at a few bad policies or blame teachers, but the problem goes so much deeper than that. It's not a software bug we can just patch. The issue is with the hardware itself. It's baked into the very blueprint of modern education.
And that blueprint? Well, for the last century, it's been what's known as the factory model of schooling. And that one metaphor, it explains almost everything. You have to remember, our modern school system was literally born out of the Industrial Revolution. So it was designed to look and feel just like a factory. We standardize everything. We process kids in batches based on their manufacture date, their age. We give them all a uniform curriculum. Why? Because the goal was never individuality. It was efficiency and compliance to produce a reliable workforce. And that right there is the fundamental flaw. A factory model sees children not as unique, incredible people with individual gifts, but as raw materials, as units of human capital that need to be shaped and sorted for their future role in the economy.
So what happens when you run education like a factory? You get obsessed with output, with metrics. And that obsession leads directly to what the great education reformer William Spady called the numbers game. This is where it all goes wrong. See, the original idea of outcome-based education was about demonstrating real skills you could use in the real world. But what we have now is curriculum-based operations, and it's all about fake outcomes: points, scores, credits, GPAs. Your progress isn't driven by whether you've actually mastered something. It's driven by the clock and the calendar. The goal isn't learning anymore. The goal is just winning the numbers game.
And this quote from Spady just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the crushing pressure this game puts on kids. Because in the numbers game, a mistake isn't a chance to learn. It's a permanent black mark on your record, a number that follows you forever in a system with no second chances. So what does all of this do to a developing human brain? Well, the consequences aren't just psychological, they're biological.
Okay, so here's what happens neurologically. When a student is under constant, high-stakes pressure, their nervous system registers it as a chronic threat. This kicks the brain into a defensive survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, the advanced part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, which handles complex thinking, memory, and self-control, it basically just goes offline. You literally cannot learn deeply when your brain is just trying to survive.
And this isn't just a theory. The research is terrifyingly clear. Studies have found a direct link between high exam pressure at age 15 and a significantly higher risk of depression, self-harm, and even suicide attempts down the road. The human cost of this numbers game is just devastating. Okay, so that's all pretty bleak. The system is broken and it's hurting our kids. But it absolutely does not have to be this way. Recognizing the problem is always the first step. So now let's talk about a new vision forward. This is the million-dollar question, right? If the factory is obsolete, what do we build in its place? What does the alternative actually look like? What's needed is a total paradigm shift. We have to move from thinking of school as a factory to imagining it as a living ecosystem. So instead of rigid and standardized, it becomes flexible and personalized. Instead of grades that just rank and sort kids, you have portfolios that tell the rich story of their growth. And this last one is absolutely crucial. Well-being is no longer an afterthought, an add-on. It is the absolute precondition for any real learning to take place. So this new ecosystem, it runs on a completely different operating system. Here, success isn't about a test score. It's about being a great collaborator or a complex thinker. The environment is built for emotional safety because without it, learning can't happen. Assessments are tools to describe growth, not weapons to rank children. And mistakes, they're not failures. They're seen as vital information, data that tells us how to get better.
It all comes down to this. For more than a century, we have defined success in school by numbers: GPAs, class ranks, test scores. But when you see the staggering human cost of that system, you have to ask a bigger, better question. What if the real goal of education isn't just about winning a game of numbers? What if it's about learning how to live a life well lived?